If you're confused and frustrated about constantly doing things you don't want to do, you tell yourself, I'm going to stop doing this, and you keep doing it anyway. Make sure you watch this video. We're going to go through exactly what's going on there. Watch all the way through to the end so you find out all that you need to know to make sure that you actually follow through with the changes you want to make in your life. What makes us do what we do is human nature, right? We have default programs that are installed in us that drive all of our behaviors and actions, right? We have this pleasure-seeking default program. We have this comfort-seeking, and we have the desire to be successful and to find people like us and connect with us and to find certainty and to be sure and to feel a part of something and have a purpose. These programs are installed in us, and we are really just driven by these things. We think we're making choices that we think are so wonderful and right for us, but in the end, really, we are just being kind of more or less controlled and pushed by these default programs. And this is the thing, no matter how much we try and force ourselves to do some things, we're always going to end up defaulting, our behavior will default into the default programs. The behaviors are always going to match what is resonant with that. So we're just subconsciously, automatically nudged into those things. And I've mentioned it already. One of the most powerful ones, the key driver of action, is discomfort, right? So whatever makes us uncomfortable, we want to move away from. You realize when you think about it, discomfort is motivating every action. Like when you need to go to the toilet, it's like, oh, I feel discomfortable. I'm going to go there. You think you're sitting here, I'm bored. I'm going to go do something. I'm hungry. There's a bit of tension, a bit of discomfort here. I'm going to go eat. There's some sort of just baseline tension, discomfort that is kind of just constantly driving action. Wherever you are, I got to eat. Oh, I'm tired. I got to get back. Then I'm here. I'm bored at home. I need to go somewhere else. We're constantly being pushed around by this discomfort that we're trying to address every single action. No matter what room you're in at home, whether you're lying in bed or whether you're going out or when you do, whether you're eating, every single action you take is maneuvering around this discomfort. So if there is a choice in front of you, if there are two choices in front of you, it's my position and my opinion that you cannot make the choice that is more uncomfortable, right? That you think is worse for you, that it's going to make you worse off in this moment. If you're looking at a donut and you say to yourself, okay, this choice, eating it, is going to make me feel better. When you believe that it's going to make you feel better, that's the choice you're going to make. But if when you're looking at the donut and you're thinking to yourself, this is going to make me feel worse, then you'll make that choice. And you can't make the choice that you truly believe is going to make you feel worse, is going to be worse for you. The environment that we live in is sort of where human nature unfolds, right? So we have our default programs, and then the environment we're in is just kind of constantly triggering our human nature. Our human nature to move towards comfort, to move away from pain, to move towards what makes us feel connected to other people and to feel special. And we're just constantly being triggered by our environment to take the actions we take. And we can't take actions that we think are worse for us. We're always moving towards what we feel is progressing us forward towards what we want. Our external environment that's doing that, but there's this distinction that really matters is also the internal environment. So if we believe that stealing something, stealing this thing that we want is makes you a bad person, then that's going to make you uncomfortable. You're going to not want to do that, right? Because it's bad. Oh, why would I do that? So it'll make me more uncomfortable to steal it than not. But then if someone who looks at that and thinks, oh, well, you're just an idiot, of course, take it. It's, you're an idiot if you don't take it. If that's the internal environment that you have where it's like, I should just take what I want and it's dumb to not take what I want, that is going to make you take it, right? So whatever the internal environment is, whatever the thoughts and the meanings that you make of something, the story you have around this thing is going to drive the action. But again, it's still driven by what's uncomfortable. This is really the only point of leverage that we have, is how do you make the right meaning around something that makes it uncomfortable? You are always going to choose the thing that is more comfortable, that is less painful. This is all the personal development is. This is all of it. This is all behavior change. Everything is about the narrative that you have around something and what that makes you feel, how much pain you associate to the thing. This is why identity is a huge thing. If someone believes that I am this type of person, and it hurts to think that I'm not being that kind of person, and then they're driven towards those behaviors. I am a fit and active person. If they believe that to be to be who they are, then starting to become unfit is just going to hurt so much that they're going to get into it. They're going to start being active. So but it's still driven by pain. Pain is the ultimate motivator. And what we feel pain around is determined by the meanings that we have around something, the identities and the stories that we tell about ourselves and about the thing itself. So to talk to the external environment, whatever you live in, the culture that we live in is a big reason why we're always going back to those behaviors. Like everything around us is screaming at us to eat more. You know, you go to the grocery store, there's sales everywhere, there's food all over the place, there's smells of bakeries and things floating around, like tempting you constantly. There's advertising everywhere on TV and in culture. There's all the cafes and the coffee and the tea and the biscuits and we are soaked in it. You can't get away from it. Constantly tempting you, constantly pulling you into that, and it's like a current that's just that we're being constantly pulled in. The natural forces that are pulling us into wanting to eat more. To get healthy and to change your behaviors, it really requires you to sort of go against the current, is to make choices that go against the natural grain of things. You know, if you're just going to just participate in culture as it is, you're going to be eating way too much. You know, you're going to be tempted to constantly. So this is what prevents people from keeping weight off. You're doing well, everything's going fine, but then as soon as you have the slightest speed bump, you have your momentum compromised just slightly, something happens, and then you just get sucked back into the current of culture and the current of things. That, you know, all the advertising is getting, as soon as your defenses are down the tiniest little bit, it's just the forces just pull you straight back into it. Unless you stay connected to who you want to be and what you're trying to do and all the benefits of it, and then all the pain involved in it, in not being that, in not achieving your goals, unless you are really connected to that, it's just so easy to get sucked back into the forces of culture, because our human nature is always there and it's never going to change. Those default programs are there forever, and our environment is constantly triggering it. Living in an environment like the modern world, you're not going to get away from it unless you want to go live out in the bush, you know, and fend for yourself and live off the land. You're not going to be able to get out of this. This is the environment that we live in now. There are forces working against you. You have to stay conscious and deliberate about making it uncomfortable, you know, to be making the choices you don't want to make. Constantly paying attention to your internal environment. The external environment you can only change so much, because in your house you can change it. In your own space you can change it to some degree. But we live in a wider culture and a wider environment, a physical environment that you're constantly interacting with. Unless you live in some commune that is completely disconnected from all that, and you never ever interact with any sort of cafe culture or your supermarket or anything, you're not going to get away from it. You're constantly being pulled back into that. It's natural to do that because the environment is constantly triggering it. The only tool that we have is the ability to manage the internal environment and be understanding that you are always going to choose the option that is least painful, that is more comfortable. You are going to do that. You cannot not do that. So get connected to the things that are painful about what you're doing, and stay connected to those things and make them more painful than the other choices. That is the only leverage point in behavior, because you can force yourself to do something for a short while, but you will not keep it up forever. It cannot happen. It's fighting the literal default human nature. So fighting that is not going to work. You've got to work with it. You've got to understand it, understand human nature, and work with it. Working against it is going to fail. It will fail. There are lots of things that you can do to increase the pain involved in choices that you don't want to make. Things like, for example, you get a coach and, they're keeping you accountable and you're going to have that conversation and okay, well, I don't want to come to the conversation and tell them that. So there's that social element where you don't, it's painful to say, okay, no, I didn't do it. But this is the thing. Those things like that are good, and then, or getting a trainer, starting a program, paying for something paying for a program or a piece of equipment, and now you're sort of thinking, I don't want to have wasted that. Those things are good, but they don't last forever. So this is another interesting thing about human nature is the fact that nothing lasts forever. No motivation lasts forever. No amount of pain. We adjust to pain. So this is the thing. There's a certain need for novelty. It's another issue with staying on track with these sorts of things is that this novelty thing becomes a problem as well, because when you've done a certain weight loss program or you've done a certain thing like intermittent fasting or you've done a particular diet and it's worked for you, the problem is that if for whatever reason you stop that, when you got to start again, it's sort of like, I've already done that. It's kind of boring. And the pain associated with it. So it's boring, which is painful. And it's also like, I know all the pain involved in it and I don't really want to do that. So there's kind of this need to have a new thing to do, or maybe just elements of it that weren't so painful. That's something to think about too, is this kind of, again, that's human nature. You're not going to be able to manage, you're not going to be able to just ignore that. If you've got a previous experience with this thing that you want to do and there's a lot of pain attached to it, you're not going to do it. You're not going to keep it up. So you're going to have to find something new, like I said, or extract one part of it that wasn't so painful and just do that, and then maybe add some new things in. You got to get creative with it. Find something that you don't have as much knowledge and pain associated to. So that's another aspect of this. And this is the thing. What personal development is, what behavior change is learning about general human nature and your own personal human nature and what's going to work for you, and then having awareness around that and coming up with the right plan for you, coming up with the right things, the novel things, new things. Take bits and pieces that are going to work, things that you don't have heaps of pain associated to, and then increasing the amount of pain around something that you don't want to do by playing with it, like I said, getting a coach, doing those things, and also meditating on all the things that are negative about this choice that you make. A lot of the time it's just because you haven't really stopped to think about it. Write everything down that's negative about it, and about why eating the donut, what pain does that cause me? A lot of the time you're kind of actively blocking out the negative things about it because you want to enjoy it. I want to enjoy this meal. I want to enjoy these lollies. I want to enjoy these donuts. I want to enjoy these things. So you won't pay attention to the negative things about it. So it just, sometimes literally that's all it takes, is literally just a time of reflection and just anchoring it in, really, really unpacking. What is this? Why is this painful? What are the negative things about that? And it's just sit with it, absorb it. Really absorb it into your being, that you just think about it. What the hell is this? Like, this is causing me so much pain. And then when you think about it, then there's more pain associated with it. And this is the thing, the thoughts that we have, they create that internal environment, which become feelings, and those feelings motivate actions. To really be consistent with the behavior changes that you want, it has to be that. You have to make that internal change, that if you want it to be automatic, you got to burrow into the pain, and get really articulate with that within yourself and connected to it. The more that you can define it and connect to it, the more that you'll be naturally motivated to not go to it. Like I said, you cannot make a choice that you believe is more painful. You can't. If you're doing something you don't want to do, there's not enough pain associated to it, or there's more pain associated to not doing it. That's because it cannot be any other way. That's human nature. It's getting that pain equation happening. The pain equation is always, and this is the thing though, that's not a permanent thing. It's never a permanent thing. The pain equation is constantly changing because you're adapting to the pain. Again, a particular strategy that you're using is starting to have pain associated to it. Constantly saying no to the chocolate wears you down, and then all of a sudden it's like, so, but at first it was okay, but then later on it became worse. And again, then you got to adapt. The reality is that your behavior, or our behaviors, everyone's behavior is being dictated by pain. Pain and discomfort are the drivers of pain, Make it work in your favor, Don't fight it. It's just because it just won't work. And again, understand that that's a constantly adapting thing. It doesn't ever stay the same. So being alive and conscious to this and aware of it is the only way to stay on track over time. If you enjoyed that, if you got something out of it, you think that was wonderful and wise, then sign up, subscribe, send it to a friend, click like, and watch some other videos on the channel. And I'll see you next time.